degrees Celsius inside the place. It was just it was like a greenhouse. It was just way too much glass on the south side.
So what would be the most that you could have? Like,
well, it depends on the amount of mass that you have in the home. And for those of you who are mathematically inclined, a typical floor like this would be able to store about 25 megajoules of heat for every degree Celsius temperature change. And if you have more than that amount of solar energy coming in, if you had, let's say, 50 megajoules coming in, well, that would rise the temperature 2 degrees Celsius. I'm simplifying this, I'm assuming there's no heat loss to the outside at that time. But if you put in 4 times as much window, instead of rising 2 degrees C, it would rise 8 degrees C. And most people would find, that. What I would like to see is windows that had a much higher R value, so that you could actually put a little more glass on the south side, but there's sort of diminishing returns from that.
so the biggest pane would be like triple pane, because you said somebody had 5 and they were breaking. So you wouldn't go over triple pane?
I don't think anybody makes anything more than triple for the south side.
So when you're looking the south side, is triple better than double? Like, are you still mainly concerned with the R value of it, or
on the south side, on the south side, you want to have 2 things. You want to have quite a good solar transmission, and I think these windows here admit roughly about 50% of the available solar energy comes through into the living space.
Okay.
And if you put, say, a 4th pane of glass on here, that would knock it down to maybe only 35% of the energy coming in. Back 30 years ago, I had great hope that we would have very inexpensive shutters that would go on the outside of the window and work well, but we've never really got a product like that.
So is there anything like blinds or something you could put inside to close at night to keep the heat with more R value?
The blind basically doesn't, the air just goes around the blind inside, so that's...
What about survival blankets? I mean, it wouldn't look very nice, but...
They don't work very well unless you conceal the top and the edges and the bottom. Because what happens, if it's working well, then it'll get really cold on one side and it'll be warmer on the other, and the air just circulates around the blanket. So it's a problem. One of this fellow Chu, who's a Nobel Prize winner, who's the Secretary of Energy in the United States, wants to set up about half a dozen institutes in the United States to do things like, cut this cost of solar panel systems by a factor of 3 or 4, improve the performance of windows by a factor of 2 or 3, and need some pretty high power technology to do that. And we've sort of we need that kind of initiative, and hopefully it'll come.
How would you classify this out? Is this an active, passive?
Active, passive, super insulated, low energy appliance, so forth. I'm sorry I don't have enough here, but there are some pamphlets here on the factor 9 home that you can have a look at. Here, and there's about 10 major features on the home that are present in If anybody wants, I can give you a PDF file.
Could you tell me how much this home cost to build? The way it is, per square foot?
Well, if you go to the Verico website, I think without the solar panels here, I think they say that homes ready to move from the lot, you know, finished and so on, are 100, they say starting at $125 a square foot. And the goal of the developer here is, over time, to make these homes, you know, similar in price to the conventional homes. And he feels that one way to do it is through, if you have factory production of the homes, you get a lot of economies of materials, and there's no vandalism, there's no weather issues, or you know, fewer weather issues and that. So that's the long-term goal, is to bring the cost of the homes you know, more in line. And I think an interim goal would be to say that you know, the PIT and E, the principal interest, taxes, and energy costs for a new home, you know, could be you know, the same for this home. I think right now, if you had to borrow, let's say $50,000 extra, I don't know if we got any mortgage people here. I remember the old rule of thumb used to be 1%. You had to pay 1% a month for a $50,000 investment, so that would be $500. But interest rates are so low right now. For $50,000 extra, you'd have to pay about $250 a month right now. And on this home here, if you add up the energy and the water savings, you know, you're getting close to $250 a month, I think. So, you know, it's not too far from the. And I notice when they're selling cars nowadays, it's often, you know, what's the monthly payment? They don't even tell you what the price is. It's just what's the monthly payment. And in fact, now to make the cars look cheaper, they talk about a bi-weekly payment. Right? What you pay every month. Now, why don't they tell you what the payment is per second? And that would really look cheap. But I think most people have to finance a home, and especially now when we have these very, very low interest rates, you know, the cost of this capital is, you know, it's cheaper to buy on a monthly payment basis. Yes?
I have a question on your last comment there on the as much energy in the construction as their ongoing energy use. Often in renewable energy, they say that sometimes to produce a product, the energy that it takes to make it is actually never gained back into production or the power that it produces in the life. Within a house like this, that extra, you know, the extra insulation in that, has anyone ever looked at that as a extra carbon?
They've done like how much energy does it take to make these solar electric panels and that. And they've, you know, they worked that through. I think the most energy intensive way is they have these silicon billets. They look like big sausages, and then they use these diamond saws to slice them, make these, and then you know, very high temperature kind of thing. The cheaper ones now to build are the amorphous silicon panels, and they have a, you know, shorter energy payback period. I've done the numbers on like cellulose insulation. It's a newsprint product here, and I think even with R60 in my walls of my house, I think it was only about 3 years to pay back, you know, the energy that it took to.
I mean, that's and we often talk about the economics of building a house, but I mean, in terms of the carbon footprint of the house, is that something that's more, you know, in terms of the industry being talked about a little more?